Rebecca Carter had been driving trucks for over 12 years. At 36, she was known across the interstates of America as Iron Lady, a nickname she'd earned not for her toughness alone but for her unwavering integrity. She wasn't the type to cut corners or bend rules, and in an industry where long hours and fatigue could easily break a person, Rebecca always stood out for doing things by the book. It was early spring when the incident happened, just another long haul from Dallas to Denver. The sky was a wash of faded blue, and the wind whipped through the open plains as her 18-wheeler roared along the highway. The sun was beginning to dip, painting streaks of gold across the windshield. She adjusted her cap, leaned back, and tapped her fingers against the steering wheel to the rhythm of a country song. Rebecca loved her job. The open road made her feel free. But freedom came with risks, breakdowns, loneliness, exhaustion, and sometimes, trouble that came out of nowhere. That afternoon, she was on a tight schedule, hauling electronics worth thousands. Her company trusted her completely, she'd never missed a delivery. She passed a small town in Oklahoma when she noticed something unusual, a black SUV following her for over 10 miles. It kept its distance, never overtaking her, but staying close enough to make her uneasy. She tried to brush it off. Maybe it was another driver heading the same way. But when the vehicle finally flashed red and blue lights behind her, Rebecca's heart dropped. Cops, she whispered to herself. What now? She slowed down and pulled to the side of the road. The gravel crunched beneath the truck's tires as it came to a full stop. Rebecca took a deep breath and rolled down her window. Two officers stepped out of the SUV. Both wore sunglasses, badges glinting in the sunlight. The older one approached first, hand resting on his belt. The other hung back, watching closely. "Ma'am," the older officer said, "license and registration, please." Rebecca nodded calmly and handed over her papers. "Everything okay, officer? We received a report about a suspicious vehicle matching your description," he replied. "Mind if we take a look inside your trailer?" Rebecca blinked in surprise. "Suspicious? Officer, I'm hauling electronics for Jackson Freight. You can call the company and verify." The second officer stepped closer, his tone firmer. "Ma'am, please step out of the vehicle." Rebecca felt her stomach twist. Something didn't feel right. She'd dealt with highway patrol before, and most of them were polite but straightforward. This felt different, tense, heavy. Still, she kept calm. "All right," she said, unbuckling her seatbelt and stepping down from the cab. The wind tugged at her jacket as she watched them walk toward the back of the trailer. They opened the rear doors and shined flashlights inside. Stacks of sealed boxes sat neatly in place. Everything was exactly as it should be. After a few seconds, the older officer turned back to her. "Where did you pick up this load?" he asked. "Dallas. Got the papers right there in the glove compartment if you want to see them." He glanced at his partner, who seemed distracted, scanning the nearby woods. Rebecca noticed a flicker of unease in his eyes. Something was off, not about her, but about them. Then, the sound of a radio crackled in the SUV. A female dispatcher's voice came through. "Unit 23, disregard that last report. The stolen truck was recovered 2 counties over." Both officers froze. They looked at each other. The younger one muttered something under his breath. The older officer sighed and walked back to Rebecca. "Ma'am," he said, taking off his sunglasses, "looks like there's been a mix-up. You're free to go." Rebecca exhaled in relief, though her heartbeat was still racing. Glad to hear that, she said, trying to sound light. Guess I'll be on my way then. But as she reached for her door, the younger officer stopped her. Wait, he said quietly. Before you go, you might wanna know something. Rebecca frowned. What's that? He hesitated, then lowered his voice. There's been a string of robberies targeting freight drivers in this area. They pose as cops. You did the right thing keeping calm, but next time, always ask for ID before stepping out. Her eyes widened. Fake cops. He nodded grimly. Yeah. And if that call hadn't come through when it did, you might have been in a bad spot. Rebecca felt a chill run through her spine. The realization hit hard. So, you're saying if that call was delayed, I could've. He cut her off gently. Let's just say you were lucky. Drive safe, Ms. Carter. The officers returned to their SUV and drove off, leaving Rebecca standing beside her truck, the wind tugging at her ponytail. She climbed back inside, locked the doors, and sat still for a long moment. Her hands trembled slightly on the steering wheel. As the engine rumbled back to life, she looked at her reflection in the side mirror. Lucky, she whispered. Or maybe protected. The miles rolled by, but her thoughts stayed with what happened. What if those men hadn't been real cops? What if that call hadn't come? That night, she stopped at a truck stop near Amarillo. The neon lights flickered over the parking lot, and the smell of coffee filled the diner. She grabbed a seat at the counter, ordered a slice of pie, and struck up a conversation with another driver named Hank. He'd heard similar stories. You're not the first, Becky, he said. They've been pulling stunts like that for months. Cops caught 2 guys last week pretending to be state troopers. Rebecca shook her head. That's terrifying. Hank nodded solemnly. You gotta stay alert out here. Trust your gut. You've got instincts, use 'em. That night, Rebecca couldn't sleep. Every sound outside the truck made her tense. She finally decided to buy a dash camera the next morning and set up GPS tracking directly linked to her company. Over the next few days, the road stretched endlessly ahead: Texas, New Mexico, Colorado. The landscape changed, but her unease lingered. Then, on the third night, just outside Pueblo, she noticed headlights behind her again, steady, too close, familiar. Her pulse quickened. Another SUV. She slowed slightly. It slowed too. Her fingers hovered over her phone. She dialed 911 immediately. 911, what's your emergency? This is Rebecca Carter. I'm an independent freight driver. I think someone's following me on Highway 50, looks like a black SUV. Can you confirm your location, ma'am? She gave details quickly, her voice trembling slightly. Within minutes, flashing blue lights appeared in her rearview mirror again, but this time, she didn't stop. I'll pull over when you confirm they're real cops, she told dispatch. Moments later, the dispatcher replied, That's correct, ma'am. That's one of our patrol units responding to your call. Rebecca finally slowed and stopped. The officers approached her truck, real ones this time, and assured her the SUV had turned off moments before they arrived. It's a good thing you called when you did, one officer told her. We've been tracking that same vehicle for a week. Whoever they are, they target lone truckers. Rebecca realized then just how close she'd come, twice. That night, after giving her statement, she called her mom. I almost didn't make it home, she said softly. But I'm okay. I think someone's watching out for me. Her mother's voice cracked through the phone. Rebecca, promise me you'll be careful. Maybe it's time you find a partner to drive with. I'll think about it, Rebecca replied. But deep down, she knew she wasn't quitting. The road was her life, her freedom, her story. And now, it was her mission to protect others who drove it too. Weeks later, Rebecca joined a trucking safety network, helping other women drivers learn self-defense, verify officer identities, and install dash cams. Her story spread through online forums and local news. Female trucker outsmarts fake police officers. She didn't want fame, she just wanted others to stay safe. A few months later, she received a letter from the sheriff's department thanking her for her quick thinking, which helped them catch the impersonators. She read the note and smiled faintly. That evening, as she hit the highway again, the sun dipped low, casting a fiery orange glow across the plains. The wind howled through the open road, and her CB radio buzzed softly with chatter from fellow drivers. "Hey, Iron Lady," a familiar voice came through. "You out there?" Rebecca smiled. "Always. Let's roll." She pushed the throttle, feeling the truck surge forward. The road stretched endlessly ahead, but this time, it didn't feel dangerous. It felt like home. And as the stars blinked awake over the horizon, Rebecca Carter drove on, knowing she'd faced fear and turned it into something stronger, courage.